Welcome to Dodgers Daily. I'm Casey Porter. I'm so glad that you decided to tune in. Certainly a much better night Thursday night than it was on Wednesday night. The Dodgers took down the Rockies like they should have done on Wednesday. Oklahoma City won. Tulsa, they lost their game. They're still scuffling. Just a touch. We'll get into that. I've mentioned all the transactions have really affected that team. And then Rancho lost, and Great Lakes, they got weathered out. So not an unbelievably busy night on the farm. You lost the Great Lakes game, but it was a really good night, especially any time that you win. If you only have 2 wins out of the 5 teams, you want those 2 wins obviously to come at the major league level and AAA level, and you got that. So there's a lot of great action, a lot to get to. But before we do, just a reminder that we have a GoFundMe account. So if you'd like to help Dodgers Daily by donating, the link to that description, or the link to that GoFundMe account is in the description. Also, hey, keep leaving your comments. The comments are fantastic. Keep liking these videos. Keep interacting with these videos. Tell all your friends about these videos. Share these videos, and make sure that you have your notifications turned on. Okay, again, the Dodgers win, Oklahoma City wins, Tulsa loses, Great Lakes is washed out, and Rancho, they lose as well. And dadgummit, if you just would have taken care of business on Wednesday night, managed that game properly, won the game like you should have, you would have been just that 1 game back before the calendar flipped to July, assuming that you can beat, Kansas City here in the next couple of days, which is the exact target that I have set for this club with this stretch of games. So, hey, big stretch again. So, a chance to make a lot of hay here coming up. So, let's not waste any more time. Let's get right to it, and let's talk Dodgers baseball. So the Dodgers now 45-35 on the season. There's that kind of magic 10-game over 500 record, and I think we would all have to agree. We've all had our complaints about different situations, of course, over a long marathon of a season. That's always going to happen, but 10 games over 500 when 2 of your 5 guys in your rotation are rookies. You've lost your ace, and Hoese. He's had some ups and downs, and then obviously Gonsolin was not not in your rotation for the entire year. Your bullpen has just been whack-a-mole all year. All in all, hey, second place, just 2 games back, 10 games over 500. Should be just 1 game back if you'd won again Wednesday night and taken care of that game like you should have. I'll eventually move on from that. I apologize. I keep bringing that game up, but I'm still just a little bit chapped about just the way that game was handled and not winning that game, because this game, getting back into first place, it just mentally, it's a big hurdle for a club like this with so much uncertainty. But I will move on. I won't mention that again, I promise. So let's move on from that. Okay, so let's start today's show by congratulating Freddiefreeman, Mookiebetts, and jdmartinez. They are starters in the All-Star game. That is fantastic. Mookiebetts also is going to hit in the home run contest, which I am not a fan of at all. If you remember, Jock Peterson was in it several years ago, and maybe this didn't have an effect. I personally think it did. I think that home run derby that Jock Peterson several years ago, I think that had a negative impact on his overall offensive game. I hope it doesn't do it for Mookiebetts. I think Mookiebetts is mature enough to understand the difference between having fun and going out in a setting and playing home run derby versus, your game swing. But it does have the potential. It is definitely a different swing. It's going to be more lift. He's going to be trying to get the ball in the air more, and it's just going to be drop and drive type stuff versus the game swing. So I'm not real big on the home run derby in the middle of the season, certainly when it's my players. But hey, congratulations to the players of the team, not my players, but the players of the team that I root for, the Dodgers, obviously. But hey, congratulations to him. That will be a whole lot of fun. And by the way, I do like the format, how they changed the format of the home run derby and put the time element into it. That to me, that has been exciting as far as the home run derby. Okay, so again, second place, leapfrog the Giants last night. Thank you to Toronto for beating San Francisco 2 games in a row. Thank you to Tampa Bay after getting beat by Arizona in the first game of that series. Thank you to Tampa Bay for beating the Diamondbacks the last 2 games. And hey, congratulations to Luke Raley. I was checking his numbers the other day. OPS over 900. His average is somewhere like in between 260 and 270. It fluctuates every day. I did not check this morning. But Luke Raley, if you remember, the Dodgers traded him for Tanner Dotson, who is still a pitcher in Double-A, and he is doing very, very, very well for the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. Had a chance to talk to him. Wonderful young man. Had a neat connection with him. If he wasn't a baseball player, he was going to be a special ed teacher. I was a special ed teacher for 18 years. My wife is still a special ed teacher. My mother-in-law was a special ed teacher for over 30 years. So that's obviously very special to my heart. And whenever I found out when he told me that he was going to be a special ed teacher, that automatically was a really, really neat connection. Obviously, the offense last night was just absolutely fantastic. How about the top 4 spots in your lineup? They went 11 for 20 with 11 RBIs. Man, it is hard to lose when your dudes at the top of the lineup are producing like that. Everybody in the lineup except for Austin Barnes had a hit. Boy, that is a quandary what to do with Austin. He caught the last pitch of the 2020 World Series. I don't think the Dodgers would have won that World Series without Austin Barnes. If you remember, there was a little bit of disconnect as far as the pitch calling with Will Smith. The defensive, aspect of the game wasn't quite working out for Will during that time. Austin came in and really kind of saved that World Series run, and without him, you could honestly, in a lot of little ways, make the case that Austin Barnes was the most valuable aspect of that 2020 World Series. So I understand the loyalty. It's a tough deal to watch Austin Barnes struggle the way he has. But the fact of the matter is, he is struggling. So, it's just tough to watch because I think we're all Austin Barnes fans. But above all, above being, even me as a prospect guy, above all, you're a Dodgers fan. So, hey, what is best for the Los Angeles Dodgers? And hunterfeduccia, he had another 4-hit night last night. So, hey, this thing, it's always fluid, and the team always has to come first. So it'll be interesting. I don't think it'll happen, but it'll be interesting. We'll get into more of it whenever we get into the Oklahoma City part of this show. But it'll be interesting to see if Devin Mann and or hunterfeduccia, either one of them, they're both having a fantastic year if they get a shot sooner rather than later. Okay, so the offense, not only explosive, they put up a 6 spot last night, but they also scored in 6 different innings. And hey, I know it's Coors Field, and the thing about Coors Field, you think, hey, the ball carries, you're going to hit a million different home runs, and that's not untrue. But the biggest part of places like Coors Field is that because the ball carries, you have to make those fields so big, and there's so much room in the outfield. We saw with Michael Grove, we saw with Emmet Sheehan. It's easier to get base hits, especially on those balls that just kind of flare over the shortstop or flare over the second baseman. A lot more of those hits dropped in front of the outfielders because the outfield is so much more spacious because it has to be to cover the altitude. So a very difficult, park to pitch in, but a good park to play offense in, and the Dodgers definitely took care of that. Okay, runners in scoring position, 11 for 23. If you remember, even on Wednesday night and the game that they lost, they were 5 for 10 with runners in scoring position. So that means the Dodgers are 16 for the last 32 or 33 in the last 2 games with runners in scoring position. That's been a stat that hasn't always been on the plus side for the Dodgers. So that's very good to see that stat and how well the Dodgers hit with runners in scoring position. And no doubt, we've talked about the bullpen offense. It's definitely contagious when you get the lid off and everybody's feeling good about themselves and there's a good vibe in the dugout. It's a lot easier to play offense. And on the vice versa, that's a snowball as well. When you get on the other end and it seems like nobody can get an out and everything's going up against you, it just seems like that negative energy, it feeds off of each other, one pitcher after the other. So, hey, the Dodgers definitely had those positive vibes. It snowballed. It was definitely contagious all night. Need to keep that rolling right into Kansas City at Kauffman Stadium. Just a hop, skip, and a jump down the road for me in Major League Baseball terms. Kansas City, Texas is the closest Major League facility to my house, but Kansas City would be the second one. And Kansas City was the very first Major League park that I ever saw a Major League Baseball game. So super excited about the Dodgers being in KC. And if you're in town and you're watching the Dodgers, hey, I have it on good authority from Cole Duensing, who is from Kansas City. If you want ribs, go to Oklahoma Joe's. I think it's actually called Kansas City Joe's, but hey, Oklahoma Joe's, that's where he said to go get your ribs. And believe it or not, Oklahoma Joe's actually originated in Stillwater, Oklahoma, where I grew up. So I've been there a million different times to the original location. So how about that? It's now called Kansas City Joe's, and the original one in Kansas City is actually in an old gas station. So go get your ribs there if you're in town to watch the Dodgers. Want to make sure and get that out. Okay. Emmet Sheehan, what a fantastic performance. I've talked about Coors Field. It's not just the altitude of hitting home runs. It's the fact that there's so much room to cover in the outfield. And we saw a couple of balls hit, land that weren't hit very hard, just kind of bad luck, land in front of the outfielders. Freddiefreeman could have made a play there at first base. It would have been a tough play, but I think it's a play that if you ask Freddiefreeman, especially with the rookie on the bump, he would tell you he really, really needs to make that play. So some tough luck that went into the 3 runs, but other than that, I'm going to go ahead and put it as a fantastic outing for him. Considering the elements, considering the tough luck on the runs that he scored in, 88 pitches on the night. The only thing maybe that you could critique a little bit is the pitches per inning. He had 88 pitches in 5 innings. That's almost 18. The goal is to be 15 or below every single inning. I think if he would have hit that mark at 15 or below, as far as the efficiency measure of it, he probably would have got to go the 6 innings, which I would like to see the Dodgers. I've mentioned this several different times. Go 6 innings instead of him going 6 innings. Justin Brule, who was just recently reactivated, he had to go 2 innings in the game, which I'm not a huge fan of. So, hey, I would like to see the efficiency get better. But other than that, get it to 15 pitches or less an inning. Other than that, I'm going to call it a fantastic performance from Emmet Sheehan, especially like I mentioned just a minute ago. Dealing with some of the bad luck, 88 pitches, 60 strikes, okay? So 88 pitches, 60 strikes, but how about this? No walks. So, hey, he threw enough balls last night to be effective. Sometimes Michael Grove throws so many strikes that it almost gives them the Iron Mike effect to where guys are so comfortable that they're taking really good hacks at him. Not Emmet Sheehan. Not only does he have the 3/4 slot that gets the good run to his fastball, and then also the good ride factor. As a matter of fact, his fastball at times had only 14 inches of vert to it, meaning vertical drop to it, which means it was riding the top of that zone really, really well. And then you added 14 inches of horizontal break to it. So you're talking about a ball that is giving that riding effect and then also giving that running effect. That's why that 4-seam fastball that Emmet Sheehan threw 68% of the time in the zone last night is so effective. And it's not necessarily a swing and miss pitch all the time, okay? But what it is, it's a swing and get really soft contact to a right-hander in on the hands or to a left-hander, off the barrel towards the end of the bat. It gets a lot of that because it's moving away from a lefty into a righty, and it's coming at pretty high velos. We saw it was about 95 to 97 last night. So the 4-seam in the zone 68% of the time. It had only a 16% whiff rate. But the reason why that is, again, it's going to get more soft contact than it does the whiff. The whiff pitch last night was the changeup. How about the Emmet Sheehan changeup? I've talked about that several different times. Now, hey, he does have a curveball, and I think he was just kind of hybriding that slider. All of his non-changeup secondaries last night were listed as sliders, but I can tell you he has a curveball that he likes to flip in for strike one. He was doing that with his slider, so I think, although it was listed as a slider and the slider was 19% of the time, I think some of those were actually kind of a hybrid towards his curveball just to get the ball in the zone last night. And then the changeup, no doubt, that was the out pitch. That was the whiff pitch. The slider he threw 19% of the time, had only a 13% whiff rate. So you can see he used that slider / curveball last night to throw strikes with, to get to his changeup that I've mentioned several different times. That is his best secondary pitch, certainly his best swing and miss secondary pitch. His changeup had an 80% whiff rate last night, and it had 48 inches of tumble. So the bullpen was spotless as well. Yency Almonte and Victor Gonzalez, they each went 1 inning. And then, hey, Justin Brule mentioned a minute ago, got brought back up just recently. He threw 2 scoreless innings as well. So good to see Justin Brule. I mentioned a couple of podcasts ago that, hey, if you wanted to dip into your your AAA pool of lefties. I figured he would be the first one that would get called up. Actually, Brian Hudson got called up since then, got sent back down. But Brian Hudson pitched for Oklahoma City just the other day. Justin Brule back up, and he looked good as well. How about the rookies? Jamesoutman, okay, he had a hit and he scored 2 runs, stolen base. He had a really good game. Only 1 for 5, but still, you'll take that game from Jamesoutman. He also had a good catch in center field going up against the warning track. Anytime he scores 2 runs at the bottom of the lineup, gets a big hit and generates a run, you'll take that. Okay, and then obviously Johnny DeLuca, he had a hit as well in his 2 at-bats. He got to pinch hit and got 2 at-bats. Interesting what the Dodgers are doing with him. He's not getting very many at-bats. He's a big prospect. He's a 2020 type prospect guy every year with that type of talent, and the Dodgers have chosen to keep him in LA instead of sending him back down to Oklahoma City to get him consistent at bats. So we'll just have to trust what their plan is for him. And then Emmet Sheehan, we talked about him, the great performance. I call it great because of the adversity he dealt with. And hey, the 3 runs were a little bit unfortunate. And then Miguel Vargas, he had a hit as well, which was great to see. So, hey, overall, a great night for the Los Angeles Dodgers. And hey, got to keep on keeping on and beat the Royals, who is going to be the opponent over the weekend. So, hey, let's not waste more time now. Let's transition to the minor leagues and let's take a trip down on the farm. Oklahoma City Dodgers scored just 1 time last night, or in 1 inning, I should say. That would be the 4th inning, and they put up a 4 spot, and that was all they needed. They took down the Space Cowboys, the Sugarland Space Cowboys, the AAA affiliate of the Astros. Good to see the Dodgers beat the Astros in anything. I don't care if it is minor league baseball. That is a lot of fun. Oklahoma City pounded out 10 hits, and again, the 4 runs. On the evening, Drew Avens had a hit. He went 1 for 4. Cole Calhoun, he had a triple, and then Jahmai Jones, he had a couple of hits. He went 2 for 5 to raise his average to 290. Devin Mann had a hit as well. He went 1 for 4. Hunterfeduccia, who you're seeing here, he had a perfect night, going 4 for 4. Cool for him. I messaged him last night, and him being from Louisiana, I was curious if any of his family was going to get to come see him in Sugarland. It's the closest spot that he plays to them, and certainly, and surely, sure enough, his girlfriend and his family, all of them are getting to come and watch him play over the weekend. So that is really, really cool, especially after last weekend talked about Braden Fisher, his Mima and Papa, Mom and Dad, and the whole family there was there to watch him play. So, it's really cool when the family gets to come see these guys play. And so it's going to be a neat weekend for Hunterfeduccia. And then Justin Yurchak also had a base hit as well for Oklahoma City last night. So who you're seeing right here is Hunterfeduccia, who had 4 hits last night for AAA Oklahoma City. And he now, Feduccia does, has multi-hit games and 3 games in a row, and is 8 for his last 11. 8 for his last 11 in AAA baseball. That's amazing. He's also hitting 400 so far this month in June, which is almost over. So you're talking about an entire month in which a catcher hit 400. I've talked about it several different times. He gets stronger as the season goes on because he is durable like that, and he is old school country tough just like that. Hitting 400 so far in June, which is almost over. Slugging percentage of 1,000. So, hey, have a month, Feddy. This is a young man. When I did the all grit test, he was one of the guys that got the most votes as far as being the grittiest guy. He's also having a wonderful offensive year. I've showed several different times him throwing down to second base, being very adequate. He's a big target behind the plate. He has a very, very chill mentality, which really helps pitchers in high leverage situations calm down and control their adrenaline. Nothing not to like about Hunterfeduccia. We saw Austin Barnes. I told you Austin has been since 2015 when I got to see him in Oklahoma City. Austin has been one of my favorite Dodgers through this entire, this kind of generation of Dodgers teams. No doubt about it, Austin Barnes is still one of my favorites. Having said that, you always have to put the club ahead of individuals and your like for individuals, and Hunterfeduccia, he deserves a chance, so it'll be interesting to see what the Dodgers do with Austin Barnes. Probably nothing, obviously I have no inside information whatsoever with that, but all I can tell you is Hunterfeduccia is a young man that is getting older. He went to college, he went to all the college, he went to JUCO and then went to LSU, played 4 years in college, so he is getting older. He deserves a chance, and he is, he's doing everything he can. What more can Hunter Feduccia do to make a major league lineup than he's doing right now? So hopefully the club, they notice. Obviously they're noticing that, but hopefully they reward him for that. They throw him a bone and they give him his chance. That's all any player ever asks for, is just a chance. So hopefully Hunter Feduccia gets that. This is alexvesia right here, and kind of a little bit of a narrative from me. Hey, alexvesia's stuff is fine. We've seen it. It's gotten major league outs. His stuff really isn't a whole lot different than it ever has been, certainly from last year when he was really, really good. The difference is, in my opinion, his emotional state. He has to control his emotions. I talk about it all the time. Look at him right here, just hinging on every single result of every pitch, it seems to me, and he's just a little bit too hyper in the sense that he is just obsessing about results and results on every pitch. My phrase for that is you have to pitch with emotions but not be emotional. In my opinion, he is too emotional right now. Like I said, hinging on results instead of just the process, thinking, hey, if I just make alexvesia pitches and I do what I'm supposed to do, over the long run, everything's going to take care of itself. Instead of having that approach, he's trying to, just make everything perfect, every single pitch, and I think that is actually causing him to make more mistakes than he would if he would just relax. So I think the stuff is fine. I think it's a mental block right now as far as, just obsessing over results that alexvesia needs to reset himself with in AAA Oklahoma City. I think that needs to be the focus while he is down, and see if he can get that mental approach back to, hey, just trusting myself and realizing if I just do what alexvesia is capable of, everything will be okay. That's my narrative. I could be totally wrong on that, but I've seen him quite a bit at Oklahoma City, and those are my takeaways from seeing him. Oh, heck yeah. I could go on and on and on about alecgamboa. Hey, this young man, he was, some people will tell you, in the Central Valley out of Madera, California, mad town. Okay, some people will tell you that he was the best three-sport athlete in the history of that area when you talk about football, wrestling, obviously baseball. Went to Fresno State, went at his freshman year, kind of felt some pain in his elbow, powered through it, and went to play summer baseball that summer, came back to Fresno State and realized nobody had even told him that he did not have a scholarship available to him. So being the local boy, he just kind of didn't know what to do, decided to go ahead and walk on and pay his own way in a local apartment. But as time went on, he started not trusting that situation. So he decided to transfer across town to Fresno City College to play for Ron Scott, and it was nothing but a great experience. He actually played with a guy named Christian Funk, who came to Oklahoma State University out off that same Fresno City College team. Alecgamboa actually looked at OSU too. Okay, so he went to Fresno City College and had a good career, but hey, no real takers. So the Dodgers kind of noticed what was going on. They invited him to Dodger Stadium to work out for him. This is why I always tell kids, play as many sports as you possibly can. The competitive nature that he learned on the wrestling mat, the competitive nature that he learned on the gridiron and football, and then obviously pitching, that was a big situation. It felt like a one-time opportunity for Alecgamboa to go to Dodger Stadium and pitch in front of all the Dodgers scouts. So a lot of guys will be nervous, maybe uptight, not comfortable in that setting. Not Alecgamboa. He absolutely knocked it out of the park. He pitched better than he ever had. His fastball was in the 90s. As a matter of fact, 96 is what he was reaching last night with it. And he looked absolutely fantastic. And the Dodgers, because of that, decided to draft him. And he is an absolutely huge Dodgers fan, and so is his family. So just one step away. It would just be a phenomenal story with all of the adversity he has dealt with in the past. With his story, it would be a phenomenal story if a Madera, California boy, Alecgamboa, who is a huge Dodgers fan, got to pitch on Dodger Stadium someday in front of his family, who is not only huge Alecgamboa fans, but also huge Dodgers fans as well. So I cannot tell you how much I am rooting for Alecgamboa. Not a lot of great things to say about the AA Tulsa game last night, other than the offense was good. Again, I've mentioned this is a team that's scuffling, and it's because of all the transactions. Not really anything anybody can do about it. Just got to get used to the roster you have and get, that roster connected and gelling and playing well. Again, Last night, of course, Amarillo is a tough place to pitch in, tough place to play. The ball carries very well there. I've been there. That's City Hall right here. Bam. That's Kodyhoese hitting a home run. That's City Hall right there. I think he one-hopped City Hall, and that's kind of fun to watch. I've actually parked in that parking lot, and that is a long ways away from home plate. So the Drillers lose 12-7 last night, although they did banged out 8 hits and 7 runs. Yorbit Vivas had a couple of hits on the night. Emil Vargas had a hit. He went 1 for 3. Yusniel Diaz went 1 for 2. Carsontaylor, who we're going to talk about here in a minute, he had a couple of knocks, went 2 for 4. And Kodyhoese had a couple of hits as well. Hose's having a very, very good month. Offensively for the AA Tulsa Drillers, Nick Frasso just went a third of an inning and gave up 6 runs last night. That's a couple of performances in a row, that he is, after coming off the IL, that has gone sideways for him, so a little bit to worry about there from Nick Frasso. Antonio Knowles, of course, remember, it's Amarillo, which is a very tough place to pitch. Antonio Knowles gave up a run in 1 2/3 innings. Ricky Vanasco, he gave up 2 runs in 1 inning, and then Kevin Gowdy gave up a couple of runs. Trevor Betancourt gave up a run in 2 innings, and then John Rooney was the only pitcher last night. He finished to put up a 0. John Rooney put up a 0 for AA Tulsa. So long night for Tulsa. They lost 12-7 to drop their record to 41-30. But hey, it was not because of Kodyhoese. Hoese, man, he is putting it together. He had a triple last night and a 2-hit night, and this was his first at bat where he hit a home run. Let me back up. He had a 2-hit night on Wednesday night, then he had a 2-hit night last night, and then he hit a home run in his first at bat last night. So, like I said, I think that one hop City Hall, and I can tell you since 2019, I've seen a lot of Kodyhoese playing offense. This is connected. I mentioned this in the podcast yesterday. This is as connected, just looking at his core, his lower half, his upper half, his hands, his head. This is as connected as his entire body has been with his swing, in my opinion, since 2019. Let me back that up just a touch and kind of show you what I'm talking about. Look how connected this swing right here from there. Okay, great load. His body's in great position. There is 0-degree slot where the barrel absolutely goes flat or level, and look how balanced his body is, and there is contact right there, and look how balanced and just how powerful that move right there. That is a powerful move from Kodyhoese. That is why he was a first-round draft pick, and that's why still, even with all the injuries and the offense, he hasn't, the numbers haven't looked good, he still has a lot of potential offensively. This is from Wednesday night, but hey, wanted to make sure and mention Austin Gauthier. How about this? Opposite field home run. Again, I've actually communicated with people that worked with him when he was a kid, and they said, hey, they realized right away that Austin had a lot of power to the opposite field. So that's something, once they saw that, they really honed in on, they really worked on. And it's so fun to see all those things that you saw when Austin was a kid actually play at the professional level, and it certainly does. So that's very, very neat. Opposite field home run, again, hitting .335 OPS 1000, and he has hits in 8 of his last 9 games. This dude, Austin Gauthier, can flat hit. He's been one of the best hitters in minor league baseball. Cool story about him in 2020 when the college season, he was at Hofstra. His college, he's from the Virginia area, they call it the SoCo area in Virginia, South County. And in 2020, when his Hofstra season got canceled, he actually went back and played summer baseball in one of the few leagues that actually kept playing right down the street from his home, and he got to play with his brother and for his dad, and they got to win the championship. So what a cool experience that was for Austin Gauthier, and boy, a young man that just keeps showing the hit tool. I talked about yesterday Carsontaylor, that swing, and here's a great swing. Let me back that up just a touch and kind of show you, some of the reasons right here. Carsontaylor, good load right there. Very bad. See that rubber band effect where he's kind of walking his hands away from his body. The further you get your hands away from your body, the more you stretch it. And it's like that rubber band. The more you stretch a rubber band, the further it will go. Well, that's what guys try to do with their load. They try to stretch those hands away from their body to create, that stretch like a rubber band. Let me back it up just a touch and show you what I'm talking about with Carsontaylor right there. Okay, see how he came down at that baseball? That's why he hits a lot of balls like these that are just hard ground balls and or line drives, but it's also why he only hit his 5th home run of the year last night. He doesn't hit as many home runs as a lot of people would like, from the catcher spot, but I know Mitch mentioned a couple times, and he is exactly right. Who cares, like with adjusting your check, if a guy can hit like Carsontaylor can hit, you have, second baseman, every position on the field now in the game of baseball in 2023 can hit home runs. So you don't have to specify a particular position as if there's his home run, his 5th home run of the year. You don't have to specify a particular position like catcher or first base or right field as a guy that has to hit home runs. If the guy's just a really good hitter to begin with, then you can deal with the lower amount of home runs because your second baseman's hitting home runs nowadays. So love the hit tool of Carsontaylor. 5th home run of the year, has hits in 3 of his last 4 and 5 of his last 7. The Virginia Tech Hokie. Rancho Cucamonga Quakes last night lost 6-4 to the Visalia Rawhide. Rancho scored 1 in the 1st. They scored 2 in the 5th, 1 in the 7th, and that was all they could muster. They gave up 6 on the evening. Offensively, 9 hits, just 4 runs, though, and that was spread around Kyle Nevin, and he went 1 for 4 on the evening. He also scored a run. Hit-wise, Hoese, he had a really good night on Wednesday, if you remember. He went 1 for 4 on Thursday. Rain Don Cone had a hit. Luis Rodriguez had a hit, and Jorge Puerta had a hit as well. As far as leading hitters on the year, average-wise, Kyle Nevin at 322. He's having a great year. Simon Reed had a good night last night. He went 2 for 4, and then Kenneth Betancourt had a couple hits as well. You're looking at Madisonjeffrey, who actually got his second start. He's been a closer for High A Rancho Cucamonga. They moved him to the starting role, had a really, really good first start. Last night gave up 3 runs in 2 innings, and then from there Kelvin Ramirez pitched as well for the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes. And also in the pitching last night for Rancho, there were 4 different guys, highlighted by Brandon Neek, and then also Sauron Lau, and then Christian Rubeck, and then Kelvin Ramirez finished going 2 innings scoreless. Rubeck actually had 1 inning scoreless, and Sauron Lau threw 2 and 1/3 innings scoreless, and Brandon Neek, he went 1 2/3 scored, actually 1 2/3, and gave up 3 runs. So on the night last night, again, Rancho Cucamonga, they lost 6-4 to move the record to 43-28 on the season.